listening to the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Sixers in action on this Martin Luther King Day. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios, 5:15. Sixers, they were trailing at half. They've made a little run. They tied the game in that third quarter, and now late in that third quarter, they're down by 3 to Milwaukee. Someone who does a great job and is a big-time Sixers fan and always writes about the team and is on all these podcasts, and you can hear him on Sports Radio 94 WIP. Also saw he was on Breakfast on Broad as Jake Pavorsky from Liberty Ballers, and he's kind enough to join us right now. Jake, my friend, what's happening, my man?
Zach, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we appreciate it. So, in my studio, actually, I feel a little underappreciated here because we don't have a TV, so I can't watch this Sixers game right now. So it got me thinking, when Jake Pavorsky watches a Sixers game, and let's say he's not at the game, what is that atmosphere like? Because I feel like you're loud, and I could also see Jake Pavorsky probably watching the game by himself, I have to imagine.
So you know me too well. I can only watch the game with close friends because I get a little too into it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't like these jackasses that don't really watch a lot of games and then pretend to know everything about the sport. So, Jake, this must be a fun time for you because you're one of the loyal, trust the process people, and you saw a lot of bad years of basketball. And the Sixers, they still got a long ways to go, but this is a Sixers team that they're fun to watch. What has it been like so far for you to watch the Sixers this year?
The past couple of weeks especially have been tremendous, especially because they're winning. And it almost feels like a playoff atmosphere because every win for this team is so huge because you're so not used to winning it all. And the fact that they won 4 of their past 5 games before they got to Washington was a really fun stretch that I think, invigorated the city. And when you have a guy like Joel Embiid who's becoming the face of your franchise, a franchise-changing player, a superstar talent who has come in and immediately done damage this year on both ends of the floor. And everyone thought he was going to be a great post-up guy, and he's out here shooting threes as well as playing in the post. He does a little bit of everything, and the fact that we know that, we think the process has finally worked, it's brought us this incredible talent, and if he can hold up, he can lead this franchise for 10, 12 years and maybe lead them to an NBA title. I think people are really excited, and it's been a really cool season, that's for sure.
And this All-Star Game campaign is great, and you see the brilliance of Joel Embiid on social media with this secret crush, and even yesterday wearing the Packers hat, and everyone loves that in Philadelphia because we all hate the Cowboys. With Embiid, though, you waited so long to see him, and we knew how good he could be on paper, but it was all about staying healthy. What did you think? What type of player did you think you were going to see when the season started?
I think we knew he would be an impactful player. I didn't think he would be this impactful. When he was rehabbing and coming back, and before the second foot surgery, there were whispers coming around of him playing 5-on-5 and just absolutely dominating Noel, like father-son type stuff. So we knew that he would come out and make a real impact. And the fact that he brings energy every night he plays, and he's scoring, he's incredible with that, protecting the rim. He flies all over the place with block shots. He's a magnificent two-way player, and it's only going to get better when Ben Simmons comes back. Joel Embiid, he's got a ton of turnovers, but he has a high usage rate, and he doesn't really have guys who can create opportunities for him. When you have a 6'10" point guard like Ben Simmons, you can run the pick and roll with, and teams will actually have to respect him. It's going to make things so much easier for Embiid, and he's already doing so much damage. It's only going to get better. And if you think about it, he's only played organized basketball for about 4 or 5 years now. He played 2 years in high school, a year at Kansas, and he was hurt. And, the fact that he's doing all this despite still being pretty raw and have a lot of tools that he needs to complete and fill out to get where he needs to be is pretty scary.
It's unbelievable because you know me, I don't really have a dog in this fight, but just to see the way that Embiid has captivated this fan base and he's been that transcendent player, it's really just fun to watch. And you make a great point about still how raw he is. It makes me wonder, I wonder how good of a volleyball player this guy was if at times he never thought about picking up a basketball.
Yeah, he at 15, he was supposed to go play pro volleyball in Europe, and somehow Luke Malmute convinced him to play basketball. It looked like a pretty good decision so far.
Yeah, no doubt about that, as Jake Pavorsky joins us right now from Liberty Ballers. So also one thing with this Embiid thing, because on our station, also Dan Patrick's on our station, and Dan had Joel Embiid on the other day, and he told that lion story, how at the age of 6, he killed a lion and then brought the lion back and carried it on his shoulder. Here's the one thing where I think Joel may be fabricating this story a little bit, and maybe they went in a group, and I understand from that thought process everything that happened. I don't think he just went into the jungle by himself and walked out with the lion and killed the lion at the age of 6. One thing I don't understand, though, is that his parents thought basketball was a little bit too dangerous. How do they think basketball is too dangerous, but going into a jungle and trying to kill a lion isn't as dangerous? That's what I don't get, Jake.
That's a much better question for them, truthfully. You know, the funny thing is, they say basketball is dangerous. He's had 3 surgeries in the past couple of years. I think it's been a pretty dangerous sport for him. But, you know, he's a strong dude. He's really working his way back. And he's played through some nicks and bruises this year. You can see the mentality and the toughness that he wants to stay out there on the floor. So maybe the days of hunting lions, you know, helped him to get to this point where he's a strong dude both mentally and physically. And his body is ridiculous. You know, 7'2", 260, 270 pounds, completely cut. You see the muscles every time he runs down the floor when he's shooting. He's a freak of nature.
The best part about him is the way that he interacts with the fans. He's embracing this superstar personality, and you got to see that at firsthand on Saturday. Tell us what happened on Saturday with the group that you brought to Washington, D.C. to see the Sixers and Wizards play.
So the Sixers' motto, obviously, is trust the process. So this was called Bust the Process. This was a giant bus trip organized by Spike Eskin, who runs the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, the Big Sixers podcast. And he put together this second annual bus trip to take 350 Process Trusters Sixers fans down to Washington. Took up basically 3 sections in the rafters in the Wizards' Verizon Center. And just chanted their brains out for 3-4 hours, trust the process, all sorts of different stuff, just making our impact felt. And honestly, Washington was the perfect place for this to happen because that atmosphere stinks.
They're a bunch of frauds, those fans.
Yeah, they're just absolutely horrendous. So it was the perfect time for us to get down there and make our voices heard and our passion felt. And you could see people looking up in the stands and seeing what the heck was going on upstairs. And I can only imagine the players heard it. And then at the end of the game, everyone went down on the court. Joel Embiid was nice enough to stick around and took a giant group photo with everyone. A great guy. We appreciate him, trusting us and allowing us to be a part of his process too as he works towards being a superstar.
So, from my understanding, you guys were going to get a picture on the court after the game either way. When did you guys know that Embiid was going to be coming out on the court?
We knew once we started walking down, and he was sitting there courtside in a big chair.
Wow.
And as everyone was getting ready and they're trying to get the picture together, a Joel Embiid chant breaks out, a Trust the Process chant breaks out, and you look over at him, and he's got like a sly smirk on his face, and he's bobbing his head to the chant. It was pretty cool. He's a good dude. So
what's the next trip? Do you guys have one planned out?
It'll probably be next year. Well, every year we do a big draft lottery party. Obviously, the main goal for the Sixers basically every year has been to get a top pick in the lottery. And last year we had about 2,500 people at Xfinity Live right by the stadium complex in Philadelphia. That'll be our next big event, and I'm sure we'll do another bus trip next year, too.
Well, if the Sixers were smart, and we know the Sixers have botched a few handlings of the fans this year and haven't treated the fans in the best of light, if they were smart, if Embiid gets into the All-Star game, which we know is going to happen, they should send 100 of you guys down to the All-Star game in New Orleans, right?
That would be great. I'm absolutely for it. I'm glad you brought that up.
I definitely think that should happen. All right, so with this whole Embiid stuff, the secret crush, we know we heard that he was on with Dan Le Batard, and it's not Rihanna. Who do you think this secret crush is if you were handicapping it?
Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine to think of who it is. Rihanna was such a perfect one for him.
Right?
He tried to put in so much work there. I couldn't even imagine who he's going for now. But if that wasn't working, I can only imagine he's even going bigger. So if he gets in the All-Star game, I hope it works out for him, and I hope he reveals it too. I'm sure he will.
It's amazing. We're basically voting for someone to get laid to get into the All-Star game. As Jake Pavorsky joins us right now from Liberty Ballers. So with Simmons, we know it's coming close for his return. When do you think he'll be back on the court from what you're hearing?
I think it should be before the All-Star break, and my guess that it will be. He's starting to gear up. He's doing 5-on-0 stuff in practice, just sort of running through drills with the team, getting his feet wet, no pun intended there, as he recovers from a metatarsal injury in his right foot. I think that's the best plan, too, is to get him in there a week or two before the All-Star game. See how his foot feels, and then give him that week off, and it feels great, then you can go gung-ho, full strength coming out of the All-Star break. I could see him possibly playing by the end of the month. I think it should be a lot that he plays before the All-Star break, and he is really the missing cog in this team when you look at, where their strengths and weaknesses. Guard play has not been a great thing for them. T.J. McConnell has done his part, but he's kind of a zero offensively in terms of scoring, and Ben Simmons is a guy who can create his own looks and attack the basket, and he'll make everyone else around him better. He's a Magic Johnson-like passer, and he's got that body. He's humongous, and he's going to be an impact player right from the get-go. People are chomping at the bit to watch him play, and I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to get on the court as well. It should be in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I had Chris Broussard on Friday, and he was talking about Embiid and said Embiid's personality reminds him of Shaq, and then with Simmons, he thinks Simmons is going to be a better passer than LeBron, so that's some big high praise. And then he did mention that Magic Johnson comparison, and Broussard did agree with that. And so I asked Chris, I go, with Simmons and with Embiid, if they're as good as advertised, and we know Embiid is, and Simmons is probably going to be as good as advertised too, just watching him play in college for that one short year at LSU, that has to attract some other players to want to join this thing in Philadelphia. And I just want to get your take on what Chris had to say. He thinks Simmons' passing ability and his unselfishness is really going to attract some other players to Philly. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, what better players there's someone to play with than someone who's unselfish, someone who can create open looks for you. This team also need a little bit of everything outside of a big post player. They have that in Joel Embiid, and unfortunately they still have that in Jahlil Okafor they're trying to move. But they need some wing scorers, and if you have a guy like Simmons, who can get in the paint and attract double teams and just dish off the guys, he has an uncanny knack for passing the ball. We're watching him in Summer League. He was, finding passing lanes before they were even open. That's got to attract, a guy who's maybe on the cusp of reaching his peak in his prime in his career. And he realized this is a young core he can build with Simmons and Embiid. You look at the 2 draft picks, their own, and the Lakers pick potentially coming this year. And they have a ton of money in salary as well. They could go after, some big guns in this season and the next one. Maybe like a Kyle Lowry or something like that, which yes, he is a point guard, but he can easily play off ball as well. He's a tremendous catch and shoot 3-point guy. And if Simmons was setting him up, you can go both. They can share the ball handling ability as well, and Simmons can play off ball a little bit. But the combination of Simmons and Embiid and their skill sets, it just makes this team, so tantalizing for their future, and will certainly attract some bigger names as they grow and they start winning some more games. But they should start spending some big money this summer.
So Jake Pavorsky from Liberty Ballers, before we let you run, I'm going to ask you the big follow-up question to that, because you were Hinkie fan number one, you and Spike Eskin and all the guys at Liberty Ballers and the Right to the Ricky Sanchez podcast. We all know how much you love Sam Hinkie and still do to this day, as he was the founding leader of Trust the Process. With that being said, he's no longer here. We know that. Where's your confidence in Brian Colangelo to get the right moves made?
I would say when Hickey left, it was probably a 3 out of 10, and I would say now it's about a 5 or 6 out of 10, just because I like the way he played this offseason. He realized that, coming out and spending immediately with that free agent crop of guys like Harrison Barnes and DeMar DeRozan probably wasn't the best idea. So he went out and he got some placeholder deals. I think this summer, once he finally puts together the core, provided he drafts well, and I love the draft picks he made outside of Simmons, Luwawu Cabarrot and Furkan Korkmaz. Those were 2 guys that I targeted as potential picks for them as well. I'm becoming a little bit more confident in his ability to find talent and to bring them in here. My hope is that he finds the free agents that are congruent with this team's timeline. Yes, they're getting better, but they're not necessarily ready to contend yet. They're still a couple years away, and they need to find free agents that match with that timeline. So my hope is that he still doesn't go too crazy. He builds up talent, but he doesn't strike with that big max player until the time is right. I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident he can do that. I'm not there just yet. I need to see how he does this offseason. I would give him like a 6 out of 10 right now.
He's got a lot of work still to do, but it looks like he has a promising future, no doubt about that. Jake Pavorsky, we appreciate it. Real quickly, tell people where they can follow you on social media.
Follow me on Twitter at Jake Pavorsky. Follow Liberty Ballers at Liberty_Ballers. Thanks, Zach. Good talking to you.